last year in February 24, as everybody knows, Russian forces invaded Ukraine. In Vienna, during our last FTTH conference, we gave the floor to leaders of Ukraine telecom industry. And I can see our speaker of last year sitting front row, Mr. Nabok. The FTTH Council clearly reaffirms its support for Ukraine. And with that in mind, I would like to introduce you to our next speaker, Yuriy Matsyk. He is head of fixed broadband in Ukraine's Ministry of Digital Transformation. Please welcome Yuriy Matsyk.
Thank you, Vincent. I'm honored to be here to represent Ukraine and share some ideas with you. I live in Kyiv, Ukraine, the capital of the bravest people who defend our freedom. Thank you. I would like to have some questions for audience, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Please raise your hands, those of you who was in Ukraine last year and saw the destroyed infrastructure. Raise your hand, please. 1, 2. Thank you. You are as brave as Ukrainians.
Well, thank you, Yuriy. I guess my first question to you would be that before February 24th, what was the situation in Ukraine regarding FTTH rollout? What were your plans prior war?
First of all, before the February 2022, we set up some goals, four strategic goals for Ukrainians. To convert to 100% of strategic to public services and online, to cover 95% of population and social facility with high-speed internet access, and to teach 6 million people with basic digital skills, and to grow the share of IT, the countries of GDP from 4 to 10%. So until 20 February 4, everything was clear and defined, and we were about to achieve them. 90% of citizens got the opportunity to use high-speed internet, and over 1 million citizens which live in the cities and villages have got the high-speed internet. Firstly, 1 million people and 3,000 villages, and 3 million people who live in 8,000 towns got access 4G firstly. And then Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, and so how's the situation has evolved practically since February 22?
As you know, the last 14 months, there has been a full-scale war in Ukraine. Charging a smartphone or tablet and connection and internet turn out to be more important. After all, there is nothing more important than staying in touch with your family. According to World Bank, $2 billion losses of the telecom sectors. 25% of the internet networks in the country were destroyed. 90 operators are on the verge of bankruptcy. Over 1,000 cyber attacks were reported targeting IT and telecommunications. More than 1,000 people who died in Ukraine. I guess we have got more familiar with the situation in Ukraine.
Of course, and I guess how critical, you mentioned the importance of being connected and staying in touch with family, but how critical is the telecom infrastructure also for military operation and Ukrainian army?
This war changed view of the battlefield. If you use drones you have a local advantage at the front. If you are connecting drone with points of all military, with all military points which make decisions at the front, you have advantage at the front. And we have advantage at the war. In this link in the chain, we need to make a resilient internet connection between all of the military points who have solved a problem on the battlefield. Besides, all military points, they use internet connection, operate the military divisions. That's why stable internet access must be reliable and safe and protected. We need to grow much more safety connections between countries and get rid of dependence on the enemy, not only gas, electricity, but internet too.
And beyond that, what about the situation of civil infrastructure? Can the countries kind of operate normally somehow? What's the situation? How is it felt by population at large?
Last year, we had survived 3 different biggest challenges. Firstly, many backbone lines were destroyed 1 time in a lot of places. And even if users live far from the front, they had problems with internet access. Second, some of the mobile towers and networks after invasion were rebuilt temporarily. And third, enemies have destroyed electricity networks. And the Ukrainian telecom networks wasn't ready to overcome this problem. My worst experience without electricity is 72 hours in a row. During scheduled outage, 4 hours by 4 hours, without electricity, 70% of fixed operator services didn't work. Only passive optical network can be more effective against this situation.
And I guess you constantly need to look at repairing, maintaining the network. So how do you practically manage this technically? Any specific technology have to be leveraged?
When all mobile operators experience a problem with destroy a base station, they united and set up internal roaming. It means when one operator lost base station, customer can call using network in other mobile operators. Besides, mobile operators got new frequencies without pay from government. Government cancel pay for electricity, can pay for electricity pillars. And the start of the full-scale war, operators don't stop services for customers who couldn't pay. Government, telecom operations, and private company got donations for the recovery and for the network. Fixed and mobile internet access has been partially restored. This is a long and experienced recovery process. Finally, we use Starlink. Some operators use Starlink as an uplink for the village. If some clients have fixed network, we can use internet access at home. And Bucha. Bucha became the first city which was affected the brutal enemy. There was nothing left in the city after the invasion, but 1 tower switch on the generator and Starlink. People come to this place, charging smartphone, and they can call to family and read the news. It's very, very neat for us. Today, we was about 42,000 Starlinks in Ukraine.
And moving to a different subject, what are the type of support you're receiving from European countries and from the EU institutions in these circumstances?
Most Starlink terminals we received from the government of Poland, nearly 50,000. From government of Germany, 10,000. From initiative of European Union countries, ministries of digitalization, 5,000. And from USAID and private company and private person, another Starlinks. Some government, international government companies and not, for example, ING is our supported. They started a project Keep Ukraine Connected. EU for Digital Ukraine, and private company who can support in Ukraine and make it. In one moment, I something. UNDP, I'm sorry, UNDP and CEF2. Today, Ukraine is a candidate for the European Union, and we strive to connect with internal digital market, and we integrate in EU, and we think about far from it very
Thank you.
fast.
And maybe as a conclusion, last question, you know, what additional support would you need? What would be your request for the audience today, and more generally, what do you expect for your industry and your organization?
Today, we need recovery to telecommunication infrastructure after the invasion, and to make all parts of the internet networks much more resilient, safe, and to make all and protected, including the international backbone. Next, we realize a problem with our operators. First, it's human capital. Ukrainian operators have decrease of number of employees. Part of them went to the army, and some women with their children go to abroad. Second, cash flow. On the occupation territories, a lot of people leave their homes. Who stay and leave, so they can't pay for services. It means the internet operators don't have enough cash flow, and they need restore infrastructure and build new lines after the invasion. And today, government began the pilot project of construction of some cities. I know Nokia want to start the pilot project in Ukraine. You're welcome. You need the platform for operators which had destroyed network with donors. We as a company at telecom to be our promoter. And what more important, foundation for recovery. We are also seeking funding for projects to restore the telecommunication sphere in Ukraine. And European Union should find a better solution for all of us. And one moment I want to draw your more attention. If you or your friend, your company or your partners think about how to make this world better, you have the biggest opportunity to take one village or one region in Ukraine and fulfill your bravest minds about reconstruction Ukraine. It will contribute to your company a lot. And today, Ukraine is the best testing ground for any innovative solutions. And those companies which have been able to harness the opportunity during the wartime will definitely have a competitive advantage among others. For example, the way Starlink were showcased. We in Ukraine have unique skills about making fast solutions and for solving great problems, and in particular support internet access. Ukraine has begun to create trends in digitalization, and you can join it. Thank you for your attention. І слава Україні!